You know, there are some moments in history that don't just close a chapter. They tear the book open to a completely new and terrifying part of the story. Today, we're going to talk about one of those moments. And it all starts on what felt like a perfectly ordinary summer morning under a perfectly ordinary sky.
Our story begins right here, in Hiroshima, a city buzzing with life. Yeah, it was a military and industrial hub, but it was also just a city, full of homes and schools and families just trying to get through their day.
Just try to picture it. It's August 6th, 1945. It's just after 8 in the morning. The air's warm, kids are heading off to school, their parents are going to work, the city's awake, but it's still got that morning peacefulness. For one final minute, Hiroshima was just a normal city. Absolutely no idea it was the target of a power the world had never, ever seen before.
So to really get what's happening in that 1 minute, we kind of have to zoom out a bit. See, by 1945, the war in Europe, that was over. But in the Pacific, the fight between the US and Japan was just reaching this brutal, bloody peak. The Allies had given a final warning, the Potsdam Declaration, which basically said, surrender or face prompt and utter destruction.
And that threat of destruction, it wasn't a bluff. It was being built in total secrecy. The Manhattan Project had done it. They'd created a weapon with just unimaginable power. President Truman, fearing a ground invasion of Japan would cost hundreds of thousands of lives, made the call. The secret weapon was a gun.
So, high above the city, a B-29 bomber called the Enola Gay opened its bomb bay doors, and out fell a single weapon. They nicknamed it Little Boy. It tumbled through the air for less than a minute. Then, at 8:15 a.m., exactly 60 seconds after that last moment of peace, the nuclear age began.
For the people on the ground, the first thing wasn't a sound. It was a light. A pika, they called it. A silent, blinding flash of pure white that people said was brighter than 1,000 suns. It was like a second sun had just appeared in the sky and decided to burn the world away.
Right behind that light came a wave of heat that was just incinerating. We're talking thousands of degrees. Near the hypocenter, the spot right below the blast, people and buildings, they just weren't there anymore. They were vaporized, leaving nothing behind but these permanent, haunting shadows burned into stone. And then, the strangest thing happened. A deep, crushing silence. The sheer force of the blast was so immense that it actually destroyed sound for a moment. But that silence was immediately shattered by a world-breaking roar as the shockwave exploded outwards, flattening almost everything for miles. In that single flash, and in the agonizing months that followed from radiation and injuries, about 140,000 people died. A city was gone, and the world was forever changed.
You know, as the world was just beginning to grapple with the horror of Hiroshima, the unthinkable happened. Japan still hadn't surrendered, and a second mission was already in the air. A bomber named Boxcar was headed for a city called Kukura. But when it got there, Kukura was covered by clouds. It was a simple twist of fate, the weather, that made the plane turn to its backup target, Nagasaki. A second sun rose, and another 70,000 people lost their lives.
So now, the whole world is asking this one terrifying question. How? How could one single weapon hold the power to wipe a city off the map? Well, the answer wasn't in gunpowder or dynamite. It was in unlocking a secret hidden inside the very fabric of the universe.
The secret is something called nuclear fission. Okay, let me try to explain this. Imagine if you could bottle up all the energy of a massive lightning storm, but you trapped it inside a single grain of sand. Fission is like finding the key to that bottle. You split the core of an atom, the nucleus, and it sets off this chain reaction that releases a catastrophic amount of energy, all in a fraction of a second. And what's really wild is that they used two different keys to unlock that power. The Hiroshima bomb, Little Boy, was a simpler design that used uranium. But the Nagasaki bomb, Fat Man, was way more complex. It used plutonium and was actually more powerful. In just 3 days, the technology had already become even deadlier.
But it's so easy to get lost in these numbers, right? Kilotons, mechanisms, statistics. They can make you forget what this was really about. The reality was lived by people. The survivors, known in Japan as hibakusha, they carried these memories with them every single day. And one of their stories? Well, it's almost beyond belief.
His name was Tsutomu Yamaguchi, and his story is just this incredible testament to, to tragedy, but also to the sheer resilience of a human being.
He saw the world end twice.
Okay, just follow this timeline. On August 6th, he's in Hiroshima on a business trip. He survives the blast, though he's badly burned. 2 days later, somehow he gets on a train and makes his way home, to Nagasaki. The very next morning, he's in his office trying to explain the impossible flash of light to his boss, when another sun lights up the windows right in front of him. And he survives again. He went on to live to be 93 years old, and he spent his life making sure no one would ever forget what he saw.
6 days after Nagasaki, on August 15th, the Emperor of Japan's voice was heard on the radio for the very first time, telling his people that the nation was surrendering. World War II was finally over, but a new, deeply anxious era had just been born, the nuclear age.
And that's why this story isn't really just history. It's a living lesson. It's a massive, flashing warning sign about what can happen when our technological genius outpaces our wisdom. The fact that these are still the only 2 times nuclear weapons have been used in a war, well, that says everything about their terrifying power. They are the ultimate paradox of humanity, our smartest invention and our deadliest. So it leaves all of us with this fundamental question, doesn't it? The same science that created a second sun on Earth also lets us map our own DNA and explore the stars. The power to create and the power to destroy, they come from the exact same place, us. So the question isn't really about the power we have. It's about the choices we make with it. What will we choose to build?